Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back. We're back for another Reference Roundtable. Chances are you probably have been here before, but if you're new, we are librarians that work at the Sioux City Public Library, and once a week on Thursday afternoons, we show up here on Facebook and talk about library stuff, usually books, movies, music, all kinds of different library things. We love it when you join in, so please join in our conversation by commenting below. We'd love to hear your thoughts on what we're talking about today, or maybe you just want to share a good book you're reading. Just please jump on in. We like to include you in our conversations. So it's December 16th today, not to alarm anybody. We are down to single digit days before Christmas. So hopefully you've started your Christmas shopping. We can't really help you pick out that perfect gift for your cousin that you only see once a year, but we can give you some recommendations for some excellent, funny, heartwarming, and Bruce Willis-filled Christmas movies. So, that's going to get you in the holiday spirit, right? And maybe it'll inspire you to think of a gift for that cousin of yours. So we're just going to kick it off and get started. If you'd tell us your first movie pick for today, Kelsey.
Of course. So as soon as I knew we were going to talk about holiday movies, I was like, well, I can't not talk about John Hughes movies. Like, those are my all-time go-to favorite must-watch every year holiday movies. So John Hughes is either written, directed, or produced, like I said, some of my all-time favorite movies, including the two holiday favorites I'm talking about today. And I actually didn't know this, but he started out as an author of humorous essays and stories for National Lampoon magazine back, when it was still a magazine. I think it disbanded or went defunct in the late 90s. He then, went on to write, produce, and direct some of the most successful films in the 1980s and 1990s, including cult classics like Ferris Bueller's Day Off, 16 Candles, Breakfast Club. I could go on and on, just keep listing them all. But of course, I have to talk about National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. So this one, premiered in 1989. It was written and produced by Hughes, and it was the third installment in the wildly popular series of National Lampoon magazine vacation films. And of course, it stars Chevy Chase, Beverly D'Angelo, Randy Quaid. They had this super great supporting cast of characters, like Juliette Lewis was in it, Johnny Galecki, and then kind of some of the best character actors of those decades. And it was actually based on Hughes' short story, Christmas of '59. And in my opinion, is one of the most popular, most quoted holiday movies of all time. There's some profanity in some of the quotes that, are quoted from it. So, we won't air those here on Reference Roundtable, but I'm sure all of our viewers know which ones I'm talking about. If you're not familiar with the movie, it's a continuation of the misadventures of the Griswold family. Clark Griswold tries to engineer this perfect, picture perfect family, set of seasonal activities. He just wants to make his family proud and make it the best holiday possible. With it being a National Lampoon's Vacation film, crazy hijinks are going to ensue. They try to, best naturally procure the biggest possible Christmas tree, but Clark doesn't bring tools to cut it down, so it's torn out by the root. Just dumb stuff like that where you're how are we not planning for this?
So you're saying it doesn't turn out to be the most perfect Christmas ever?
No, it's not classic black and white holiday film where you're oh, that's so nice, or it's not a Norman Rockwell painting or anything. Of course, there's the, what you see on the movie cover, in most of the versions is the, brightest Christmas light and biggest Christmas light display on the block. You know what happens after that. And then, the issues with the lackluster end of year bonus from his Scrooge-like boss. And then, of course, to top it all off, there's, the in-laws, and then his wife's country-based cousin and her family arriving unannounced in their rundown RV. So, there's also senile aunts. So, perfect dysfunctional family drama, which is my bread and butter when it comes to holiday movies. Don't know what that says about me, but I absolutely love the craziness, but really also how the family really cares for each other and bands together when it matters most. So,
It's a good
National
one.
Lampoon's Christmas Vacation.
You can't go wrong with those
No,
80s
it's a
ones.
classic.
I'm kind of in keeping with the 80s theme. So my two picks, one's definitely more adult oriented, the other one's more kid oriented. So we're going to get the adult one out of the way. Of course, I have to pick the all-time holiday classic, Die Hard, starring Bruce Willis and Alan Rickman, two just fantastic actors. So I will obviously say right away, this film is rated R. There's swearing and violence and guns. It's definitely an adult movie. It's not like a horror movie of, nonstop terror or anything, but it's an adult movie. So I wanted to put that out there. And I'm not going to give away any spoilers or dwell on the violence today. And I'm also not here to argue about whether it's a Christmas movie. It takes place during Christmas. I think that's all it needs. So we're not going to argue about that.
I don't care what anybody says. It's Christmas.
So a quick summary is our main character is John McClane, an NYPD cop who goes to visit his estranged wife who is living and working in LA during Christmas time. His wife, Holly, works for the Nakatomi Corporation, and the Nakatomi Corporation are having their holiday party when John arrives at their skyscraper headquarters. So a German radical named Hans Gruber takes control of Nakatomi Tower during this party and takes everyone hostage, except John, who manages to get away but is still trapped in this tower. So the only person who can stop Gruber, save the hostages, is John McClane. And that's the whole movie, is him kicking butt and saving Christmas.
We did have a comment pop in here that Adam says Die Hard is one of the best Christmas films.
See, yep.
I would agree.
I love this movie. It is no Casablanca. It's no Citizen Kane. It's not gonna, change your life or anything like that. But it's so much fun. You're not meant to, go into it taking it seriously. It's just one movie you should just enjoy for its silly one-liners and just fun action scenes. And if you really like Die Hard, it has 4 sequels. So there are 5 Die Hard movies total. So you could have yourself a Christmas marathon. Now, they all don't take place around Christmas, but just letting you know there's more than one out there. And I have actually heard that Bruce Willis is up to doing a 6th one. So who knows? Maybe we'll have more Die Hard in the future. And I didn't actually know this until today, but Die Hard is actually a book-based movie.
What?
It is the book that it's based off of came out in 1979, and the book's called Nothing Lasts Forever. It's by Roderick Thorpe. So if you're a Die Hard fan and you wanna read the book,
it's nice.
It's out there. And I just had to share this because everyone knows I like my fun facts. The role of John McClane was offered to Sylvester Stallone, Richard Gere, Clint Eastwood, Harrison Ford, Burt Reynolds, Nick Nolte, Mel Gibson, Don Johnson, Richard Dean Anderson, Paul Newman, James Caan, Al Pacino, and even Arnold Schwarzenegger before it was given to Bruce Willis.
That's ridiculous that many people said no.
And Arnold Schwarzenegger turned down Die Hard in order to do the classic 1989 movie Twins with Danny DeVito. So I just thought that was crazy. Like some of the biggest macho action stars of, like the last 40 years, and they all turned it down. So I thought that was really interesting. And I really thought it was interesting they offered it to Richard Dean Anderson. If people don't know who that is, he was MacGyver.
Oh.
And so I was like, oh, MacGyver, that would be interesting. So
the Richard Gere one throws me a little bit. I was like,
yeah, I'm glad he didn't do it.
I don't really picture him as like an action hero. Like he's great, but not John McClane.
No.
Yeah. Oh, we got another comment.
Yes.
Colonel O'Neill.
Yes. Richard Dean Anderson also played Colonel O'Neill in the Stargate SG-1 TV show. So that's a little more of a modern reference for people who didn't watch 1980s TV shows.
Fair. That's fair. So, of course, I have to keep with my John Hughes theme for my second one. And I don't think we could talk about holiday movies without talking about Home Alone. So it came out in 1990. Again, it was written and produced by John Hughes. And it was the first film in the Home Alone franchise. I think now there's 3 original ones, and then there's been like offshoots. Like I think there was even just one on Disney Plus this year where it's like Home Sweet Home Alone. So it's like that fandom and those storylines are still going strong. Of course, it stars Macaulay Culkin, Joe Pesci, Daniel Stern, John Hurd, and Catherine O'Hara. And I didn't know this, but it grossed $476.7 million worldwide. And I know that, I mean, that's still a huge chunk of change, but like, that's in 1990. Like, that's not 2020 money, which that just seems crazy to me. And it was the highest grossing live action comedy. And it like held that title for 20 years. Wow. Unfortunately, it was unseated in 2011 by the part 2 of like the Hangover series of movies. And you're like,
that's a shame.
That's just kind of sad. Like, not anything, like bigger or whatever. Of course, it made Macaulay Culkin a child star. It was actually nominated for multiple Golden Globes and even a couple of Academy Awards. Which I was like, I didn't know that. Like, it just is like, oh, that's the holiday movie that I've loved since I was a kid. But apparently, was nominated for some things. But the concept for it, because I'm sure everybody knows, the main premise of the story, but the concept came when John Hughes was preparing to go on vacation himself. He said, I was going away on vacation and making a list of everything I didn't want to forget. And he thought, well, I better, not forget my kids. And then he thought, what if I left my 10-year-old son at home? Like, what would he do? So then from that came 8 pages of notes, which later developed into the screenplay. And I was like, that is a very interesting conversation, like thought process to have with yourself. Like,
yeah,
one, let's hope you don't forget your kids. Like, 2, then we're like, so if I did, how would they survive or what would they do on their own? But hey, it spawned Home Alone, so I can't really be mad at it. If you are absolutely not familiar with the movie at all, it's about Kevin McAllister, a boy who defends his Chicago home from burglars after his family accidentally leaves him behind on their Christmas vacation to Paris. And of course, there's hijinks. It's a John Hughes movie. There's going to be hijinks of some sort. This one, honestly, is just a burst of nostalgia each holiday season for me. I have to watch it. It's on my must-watch list. I own it in multiple forms. It's one of those holiday movies for me. So
it's a good one. Yeah. People still check it out at the library all the time. I can attest to that. It's a popular title.
Does not stay on the shelf long during the holiday season.
So my second one is definitely my childhood and adult favorite. I just love it. And that's, of course, the 1964 TV special of Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. Now, I'm sure I really don't have to go over the story of Rudolph too much. Everybody knows, glowing nose, rejected by the other reindeer, comes and saves the day when there's a snowstorm. So the origin story of Rudolph, the character, is really crazy. So you just imagine it's like going to be like Brothers Grimm, fairy tale sort of. It's not. It was actually created by a man called Robert L. May in 1939. May was asked by the department store Montgomery Ward to create a really cute, fun Christmas character for people. And he did. In 1939, Montgomery Ward handed out a Rudolph poem booklet basically to shoppers, and people just went crazy for it. They loved it. I think I wrote down how many Well, maybe I didn't. I know it was like over, I think, 2 million copies.
Oh, wow.
It was just crazy. They loved it. So by 1984, Rudolph had, or 1984, 1948, I guess I was a little dyslexic reading the numbers there. By 1948, Robert May's brother-in-law, who is Johnny Marks, would write a song. The song we all know, the Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer song. And
now
the rest
everybody's singing
is
it in their head.
Yes, the rest is like obviously history. I mean, that song is just inescapable. By the 1950s, Rudolph was just basically a legend that just always was around and was in everybody's Christmas, Christmas times. And then, of course, in 1964, the company of Rankin and Bass got together and made this wonderful stop motion story of Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. And it's shown every year since then. So it's aired for, I think, 50. This is the 57th year, I believe, 57th or 58th. And it's the longest running Christmas special of all time. I just have to share another cool fact. All of the songs in this special were also written by Johnny Marks, the creator's brother-in-law. So he wrote all of the songs in the special. And I discovered this, and I just would be remiss not to tell you that Johnny Marks, turns out, he's the king of Christmas songs. He wrote Holly Jolly Christmas, Rockin' Around the Christmas Tree, and I Heard the Bells on Christmas Day. All Johnny Marks songs, as well as all the ones in that special. So I just think that's crazy. Christmas
that
was
man
obviously
really loved Christmas.
Yeah.
Dang.
And it's just one of those shows that you can't watch it and not just feel like happy and like just joy every moment. The colors are so like bright and fun. The songs are wonderful, and I don't even like musicals, as most people that I know will tell you. So if I like them, you know that they're high quality. And my favorite characters aren't even like Rudolph or Sam the Snowman, who's voiced by the honey-toned Burl Ives. I always loved Hermie the elf. Everybody probably knows what I'm talking about, the elf that wants to be the dentist, who's a misfit with the elves. I love him. And of course, Yukon Cornelius, the gold hunter. I just think they're just amazing, goofy, wonderful characters that, stand the test of time. So I've watched it dozens of times, I'm sure. And it never grows old. Every time I see it on TV, I am just stopping and watching it. So
there's just something really cool about like stop motion or like, the holiday movies that came out of that like decade with stop motion and stuff. You're just like, oh, those are great.
There's just something like special to them. Like it's hard to describe. I couldn't just tell you why it's just so cool, other than it's just it just feels like something that needs to be experienced. So I definitely recommend it to anybody, no matter what age you are. All right. Well, thank you for tuning in and hanging out with us this afternoon. We know not everybody can catch us live, so feel free to comment, even if you're watching us later in the day. If you have a question, you want maybe another holiday film recommendation, or you have a question for us, you can always reach us by email at questions@siouxcitylibrary.org. We'll get back to you and help you out however we can. Sadly, we're not going to be here next Thursday. With that being Christmas week, the library is closed Thursday, Friday, Saturday for the Christmas holiday. So our next episode is going to be on December 30th. So we're getting close to the end of the year here. So soon we'll be talking about 2022 books.
That seems crazy.
All right. So until then, the 30th, keep reading, Sioux City.